Tim Brasher, thank you for joining me on NRL Fans WA.
Not a problem. Glad to be here.
I really appreciate you giving me your time. I was looking through your stats and stuff, and to have someone of your caliber come on and have a chat with me, mate. Yeah, that's a huge honor. I personally, as you can tell, growing up with the '90s Broncos stuff, um, I grew up watching you, hating you at times because you played for New South Wales, but I also loved watching you play. So yeah, it's great to have you on.
I was going to say, when it was I was playing against the Broncos, you'd be pretty happy. But obviously, New South Wales was my chance to actually get a few wins.
That's it, mate. Yeah. Um, yeah, I remember you hugely through the my era growing up watching TV because I watched footy like there was no tomorrow. I grew up sort of northern New South Wales, Ballina Byron area, and then moved up to Queensland, and I just watched footy. That's all I did was watch footy. Um,
You know what? I did the same thing as a kid. I watched Tom Rodonicus, Bob Reddy, Les Boyd, the boys, and that was Mick Cronin.
yeah,
Yeah, Sterling. So yeah, I know exactly how you feel, mate. It's pretty cool when you come across those dudes that. And I was lucky enough to play against some of those old legends and in their last kind of years of their career, and that was pretty humbling.
yeah, I bet it was. You sort of look up to these guys as heroes, as a kid, and
Absolutely.
then for yourself to get to play against them, like, just
Yeah,
would have been a humbling experience.
pretty surreal, I'll tell you. It's, I always wonder, in the backyard, you want to, I'm Tom Donicus, and you want to play for Australia, and then for that to come to fruition is it's pretty amazing. Obviously, a lot of hard work, but also a bit of luck. And you look at the team I came into in '89, the balmain team was off tap. It was so good, and
Yeah.
what they on and off the field was amazing.
Oh, absolutely. Speaking of which, your career starting at the Balmain Tigers, and you were just in high school at the time, making your debut in high school, and then I think you also got to play the grand final that year, which you unfortunately lost to Canberra, which was another freaking hell of a side to play
Yeah,
against. But how was that for you being that high school kid and going, oh, guys, I'm playing in the first grade grand final this week. How was that?
it was pretty crazy because we had cameras at school. I got a bit more attention from the girls, which is pretty cool. But nuts. It was always like cameras watching us in class and doing stuff and interviews. I wish I could go back because I was in my 16th game of the first grade, the grand final. I was playing well. I was just riding a wave. I was happy to be there. The boys had lost the year before against Canterbury. I watched that, but I kind of wish I could go back and go, okay, as a first grader who'd played a few years, you got to win that game. And obviously, I was marking a little guy called Mal Meninga in the centres. I think I was 78 kilo. I think his left leg was 78 kilos. So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, I bet it would have been. That would have been
We played well. Obviously, a drop of the ball, a bounce of the ball here and there, and we win the game. So what do you do? That's gone down as the best grand final of all time. So you can't be upset with that.
No, absolutely, and it would have been a pretty daunting thing for yourself to, as a high school kid, to mark up against Mal Meninga, who's pretty revered in the game even at that point.
Yeah, I was a bit cheeky, but so I knew I was faster. I couldn't take him head on. There was no chance. And we had like that collar you got there. See how big your collar
Yeah,
is? That
yeah.
was my time. At the collar and down.
That's the best way to do it, mate.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you end up playing 185 games for the Tigers. Um, you move on to South, and were there when they got kicked out of the comp in 2000, which you ended up at the Cowboys. Um, I remember reading something about. I was reading to do with your contract from Tigers and how you got to South. It was after the Super League war had finished, and you sort of weren't sure. Was it you weren't sure whether to sign at the Tigers or you were looking
Well,
elsewhere at the time?
dicey back in those days, they didn't like you finding out what you're worth.
Yeah,
So I kind of held off to, I had three clubs chasing me, and I was just obviously I want to find out what I'm worth and make sure I get the right number. And the Tigers were just a bit antsy about that. They didn't like me talking to anybody else. And in the end, I found out that's why they stopped, because I was taking too long. They basically cut it in half. And I said no. And I couldn't. I'm not going to sign for that. I knew I was worth more than that. I had Parramatta and I had then South Sydney jumped on board, and South gave me a good offer. And I didn't really want to go to South. South went. My roommate, actually, Marty Moore, was playing for South, and he said, "Mate, don't go there." But I went there. I had some mates there. Much like footy, you get mates everywhere. It's unfortunate what happened at South. We had a great roster. We didn't quite gel as a team together in those 2 years. But I'm proud that I still played for Australia and New South Wales while I was there. I had a great year my first year there. Second year, come off a neck injury in pre-season. I think we were doing wrestling practice, and they gave me Spud to wrestle. So I think he landed on my neck, and well, I don't regret going there, but it was sad that the Bunnies got booted out of the comp. But in the end, you look how they bounced back. I think it was a blessing in disguise. And then the Cowboys loved it up there, and again, an injury that ended my career up there, and that was unfortunate. It was my first year there, 2000. I had one of my better years ever, and we were going places, and that's unfortunate. Tim Sheens was upset that I got injured, but what do you do? Again, I played for New South Wales up there. I think I was the first New South Wales player to play from North Queensland, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. And got to captain them as well. So I'm proud of what I did. Obviously, it would have been gone a bit further, a few more years would have been nice, and a few more origins. But in the end, I ended up going overseas and became a golf caddy out of nowhere. So I love that part of my life. So what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I look at back your career, your stats. You represented New South Wales City, New South Wales on 21 occasions, and Australia on 16 occasions. From early 90s up to the 2000s. For someone to continue to play, and you did change clubs, and you get to those clubs, and you're still able to force your way into the New South Wales team, into the Australian team, and you had some bloody stiff competition, for the New South Wales spot, let alone the Australian spot as well. For you to continue to do it's amazing.
It was definitely it was good. The competition was good. The fullbacks in my era were great. We came off the era of Gary Jack and Belcher, and played against Belcher, and he was a great player. And then the next chapter was the Mullins, myself, O'Neill, and we had some great fullbacks, and we had some great tussles, all of us, and we all played fullback and wing at some time. It was awesome, and they're all those two guys, my good mates, and although we hated each other for a while there, when we toured together, we had a lot of fun, and that's what it came down to. The 90s was a great time to play rugby league, and I really, appreciate all my teammates and all the people that helped. But in the end, it was. I wasn't a Brad Fittler, I wasn't a Andrew Johns, but I was the kind of guy that trained the hardest, and I had to earn my spots. I know Joey and those boys still trained hard, but they had some natural skill that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, like I said to you, man, growing up watching you, you were always one of those guys that I feared as a Queensland supporter, or even as a Broncos supporter. Yourself, Brett Mullins, like you said, I hated any time the ball went near you guys. I'd be like, oh crap, just knock it on or something, because you guys, you're saying that you might didn't have the talent of Joey and Freddie Fittler and all that sort of stuff, but the damage that you guys could do was, especially yourself, was amazing. Like I said, I used to hate watching you guys get the ball.
Well, I think the best thing for me was I played schoolboys with Freddie, and we clicked straight away. So I think that was why I loved Origin so much. I got to play with those guys who read a game well, and that was my kind of forte. And that's why fullback was in my spot. But I read what was available in front of me. I hit the gap that I saw, and Freddie saw it as well, or Joey saw it and put me straight through it. So that was I wasn't the guy that created it. They created it. I ran to it. They saw it. I saw it. I'm through. So that was, you know, and Laurie Daly was the same. Laurie would put you through the same. Like, it's just to play with that caliber of players in the Origin team, and in our team was magnificent in the 90s. We just, if someone retired or got injured, we had someone of equal level to fill in that spot, and it just gelled straight away. Our bonding sessions were off tap. I can't talk about that, and it was just so good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, you mentioned before as well that, you know, you come in that era after yeah, Gary Jack and Belcher and stuff like that. How did you find coming in after Gary Jack? You know, you started in the centres, and you know, you slotting into his position at fullback.
Yeah, no, I was always a centre. I was a centre as a kid, and to tell you the truth, like the best thing that happened was obviously Gary retiring, because I wasn't going to represent as a centre. I had Mal Meninga in front of me. I had Paul McGregor. Then Terry Hill came in, who, you know, they're all bigger humans. And I think as a centre, you need that size. And you look at them now, centres and wingers are all massive. Whereas at fullback, you know, half 5'8", you can get away with it. So definitely that was a blessing in disguise that I went to fullback. And in the end, that suited my game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When you look back in your career, mate, I just want to, is there anything that you've taken out of your professional sporting career that's made you into a better father, husband, or person that you are today?
Oh, absolutely. It's the whole thing of sport in general. I don't care what sport is, NRL to swimming to the soccer, with the girls' soccer we just saw. Like, my God, it's that being a team, looking after each other, working together, not being all about yourself. You know, sometimes you have to give a bit. Sometimes they've got to, you know, give you a bit. It's just looking after each other, and then it's the work ethic. You know, it's about, you know, what those days you don't want to get out of bed, but you've got to get out of bed. You know, you've got to train. You've got to do those extras. If I didn't do those extras, you know, I tell my kids are only young at the moment, but as probably when they hit high school, you know, I started after school catching a train to go to a gym to do a workout because I knew how to do weights. I didn't know what I had to do. The guy there told me, do this. This is a machine, but I knew I had to do it. And then when I get to first grade, and you know, I've got Wayne Pearce and Ben Elias and Sheridan and, my God, Bruce McGuire, all those boys, Gary Freeman. Gary Freeman lived not far from me, and he'd come and pick me up. We'd do extra runs here and there, like just that work ethic, you know, and that transpires into your life as well. Is that if you do that in your work, in your job environment, it's the only way you're going to go up. You're not going to, if you sit there and do the same thing all day and don't excel and don't show that you're actually wanting to improve and wanting to get better, you're not going to go up the chain.
Yep, absolutely, man. Yeah, no, I tell my kids the same thing. It's all about putting that extra effort in, because your boss might not see it straight away, or your coach might not see it straight away, but if you keep doing it over time, you're going to get there.
Absolutely.
I remember watching something. It was a video on Kobe Bryant, and he would go to the gym. I think it was like he'd do like 1,000 shots before practice would start. And he said, if I did that for 7 days, I'm getting in 7,000 more shots per day per week than everyone else.
Absolutely.
And then it transpires over a year, and then over 5 years, and then 10 years, and then that's why he was so good. And it's like, that's exactly it. That extra effort and that dedication to what you're doing to be the best and to put in your best effort,
Yeah.
get you a long way.
I found that finding, like, especially in a team sport, there's always going to be one or two players in the team that you really click with, and you are the same kind of person, and you get a training partner. And I had one in Marty Moore, came to Balmain. I was 23. I was already, you know, I'd already played for New South Wales, but he turned up and we were competitive as hell. We both loved the gym. We both loved training. He beat me in a sprint because I think he's a sub-11 runner as a schoolboy. And I'm like, who's this guy? And he said, I'm from Bathurst and whatever. And he just took me to the next level with strength. And both of us took each other. He ended up being ridiculously strong. So I think that helps too, finding someone, a training partner, and it doesn't even have to be from your same sport, but just someone you enjoy training with, someone who can push you, you're competitive with, that can take you and you can take them to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You couldn't have said that any better myself, mate. With representing New South Wales, mate, and Australia, how big of an honour was that for you? You know, you like you said, you grew up watching Tommy Raudonikis and all that sort of stuff. You know, playing for New South Wales, and you would have played under Tommy out there for New South Wales too. You know, you know.
I can't tell you anything about that trip. That's awesome.
Yeah, I bet.
It was amazing to me to obviously you have Tommy, and Tommy wrote it before he died. He wrote he gave me his number one fullback spot. He said I was his number one fullback, so that was pretty cool. Like being a guy who was my hero as a kid, to say that, and that was awesome. But yes, to watch all the old kangaroo tours when I was a kid, I used to wake up and early in the morning and watch it over on a really grainy, crappy little 50-inch TV or 50-centimeter TV. Sorry. To get there, for me, first was my first Origin. Wow, I was playing tennis with a couple of mates, and the team got picked, and I was off my head. Like it was just wow. And I was on a bench spot, and you couldn't believe it, but Rob Wishart somehow blew a hammy just before half time. He's the biggest guys in the world, and so I got to get in the wing for the whole second half. I had the best half of my life in 1992. It was a decider. They made me the goal kicker. Like Laurie was a goal kicker, and he just threw it at me and said, "Mate, you're kicking." So I spotted one from 40 out to kind of seal the game. So it was just an amazing start, and that then got me into the Australian team, the World Cup at the end of the year, '92 World Cup final. I had to go against Brad Godden, who had a great final series for Newcastle. The Tigers didn't make the finals. And we played 4 lead-up games, and I got ahead of him and got the spot. But to walk out at Wembley Stadium, my God, all the things like FA Cup finals, the big concerts I've seen there, Wembley, and this is the old Wembley with the dog track around the outside. Just being in those dressing rooms and then walking out, we had 88 to 90,000 people there, which was my biggest crowd. It's going nuts. It was crazy. And again, first kick went up, 2 minutes into the game, absolutely crapped myself. First time I've ever been scared of a football. I dropped it. They got a penalty because one of our guys jumped on it in front of me, and that was it. That was the catalyst that clicked me and say, you know what? This is footy. You're good at this. And I had a really good game after that. It was an amazing, tough game. We had all 4 seasons in one day. It rained, the sun, it was windy. But we won the World Cup, to win that for Australia, and then back it up again in '95. Hey, amazing. And the trips. That's one thing you miss. I miss being with the boys and being away and just, again, playing for your country. Nothing better than that. But, when it comes to footy, unless it's a World Cup final against Great Britain or New Zealand, the Origins are the hardest, toughest football you can play. And, there's so much passion. Especially when I love playing at Lang Park. It's a lie when they say that you don't get intimidated there. You'll love it because the crowd goes nuts. Then when they're quiet, you're winning.
Yep, absolutely. And you can hear that through the sound effects mics these days. Obviously the mic effects weren't as good back when you were playing, but you can hear it now. That Queensland crowd, that roar when they come out, the roar when they're on top. And then when they're not on top, you can just hear that. It's almost like a pin drop in the stadium.
It's crazy. The guys called me this year before the Origin, and they interviewed me. And they said, I'm the most winning New South Wales player at Lang Park.
Yeah, right.
And I told them, I said, I actually won 2 curtain raisers in under 16s and under 17s as well. So,
nice.
That was an amazing start. I'm like, you're killing me. But it was pretty cool. I love the place. Yeah. Love playing there. Great place to play.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Would have been. With your career, mate, have you, or maybe not just in your career, but in your life, has there been like a low point that you've gone through? And if so, how did you sort of get through it?
Mate, we all go through low points. There's always negativity. There's always things you might do something and be regretted and what have you. But how do you pull through? positivity. Like, you just, and the friend base around you. For me, it's, I'm trying to teach my kids about getting a good peer group. I've been in bad peer groups. I grew up in a tough area in Sydney, and a lot of our guys went the wrong way and did the wrong things. And rugby league saved me from that. I had to go to training every, and I had to stay away from them sometimes. So I made some good choices there. But there's definitely been downsides, and there's downsides to everything, like even injuries in rugby league. But the upside is your mates are there for you, your family's there for you. So it's all about us understanding if one of our mates is having a tough time, you pick them up. And I've told my best mates from footy, and we're having a South reunion next week, and I just said, you know what, no matter what it is, don't do anything without calling your mates. Call us first and let's have a chat. Let's catch up. But that's number one for me is, mateship and looking after each other. I know when I was a kid at school, had a few Tongan friends, so a little bit of the cool group, the tough gang, and we used to look after the kids who got bullied. So we told them, got bullied, you get bullied, you come see us.
Yeah.
So definitely. There's always some way to go. There's always someone to talk to.
Yeah, that's the way. The reason I asked that question is, mental illness and mental health issues these days is such a big thing in society.
Absolutely.
And it's making the NRL's doing a really good thing with making awareness in rugby league as well. So,
Yes.
the reason I asked that is because we need to, because you would have grown up in that era where it was, oh, you don't talk about your feelings, you don't cry, real men don't cry, all that sort of stuff. For guys like yourself to come out and say, no, you need to talk about it. You need to see your mates. You need to, express how you're feeling. The kids these days, I've got 10 kids in my house.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. Well,
I've got kids too, and like the kids these days with the online trolling, it's so easy for someone to bully someone. And it's not the kind of bullying we got. It's not the tough guy bullying. It's the online stuff that it's tough. It's hard for them to take, and we've got to be there and teach them that no matter what, we're here for you.
Yeah, exactly it, mate. And that's the reason I ask. We got a lot of people that watch. They might not watch my stuff, but they watch a lot of people's interviews and stuff like that. And the more we say something about it and get it out there, then the more these kids are going to realize that there's help and they're not alone.
Yeah, and as you know, I wasn't. Post-sports depression is it's a real thing. It's not a day goes by that I wish I was back where I was. And I didn't think I'd ever get it, but I definitely I felt it where I want to be back there. I want to, but you're not. And even if you whatever job you're doing, you just you can't be where you were before. Obviously, there are jobs that you can get to the top of and what have you, but I just it's tough, and I totally understand post-sports depression, and that's another obviously factor in more of the older people that have played at a high level and have had a lot of fans that they all of a sudden they go out the back door and it's like, well, you're nobody in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I suppose I was lucky enough that when I retired, I went overseas, bought a car in LA, and just became me again, by myself. Travel around, had to go and say hello to people, as opposed to have people come up and say, "Hey, Timmy Brasher." It's like that was very humbling, but tough to do.
Yeah.
But that really helped, me get over the post-sports depression.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. It's a different way of thinking about it too. Because I have talked to a few of the other guys, and they've mentioned the same thing. They don't miss the training and the playing and stuff like that, but they miss the camaraderie that they had rocking up the training and all your mates. Hey mate, how you doing? Da, da, da.
Every day I tell my kids at school, I don't like school. I said, it's the best time of your life. You're with your best mates. I said, unless you're playing a sport after that, that's the only way you're going to get the same kind of thing.
Yeah, that's it. Have you got any advice for young kids, especially over here in Perth, that want to get to the high sports levels, especially NRLs being probably not obviously not as big over here as it is with the AFL, sorry, than AFL or rugby union or anything. Advice for these kids that want to get noticed. They want to make a career out of rugby league, but being over here in the West, it's a bit hard.
Yeah, I'm not sure the infrastructure you got there, but obviously if we get a team over there, that'll certainly help that with NRL coaching at a junior level, bringing people on. But to get noticed is whatever you have there in the schools and outside of school is just do your best. Number one is you got to love it, because when you get to that mid-teens age, there's a lot of factors that come into your life that aren't sport. If you don't love it, as I said, sport saved me from hanging out with the wrong kind of dudes. So if I didn't love what I did, I wouldn't have been going to training. I would have been going hanging out with guys, getting a slab of beer and having a drink. So I think number one, you got to love it, and then number two, find a team, find a coach, whatever you can, and just train. And I'm not saying you don't have to train. Your early teens or even 12, 13, you don't have to go over the top, but you just got to love it and enjoy it and be there. Be present. But then, obviously as you get older, 15, 16, that's when it starts. Like I said, you got to start doing weights. You got to start it. So, and hopefully by then, you'll know if you're good or bad by then, or good enough to try and take it to the next level. And then from there, you seek out the next level. And hopefully there's infrastructure there where they're spotting for talented kids. And that's what happened, obviously, when I was a kid. We had talented player camps. And by the time you got to under 15 schoolboys, it was the same people you saw at every camp, the same people, the ones that were really good, the ones that weren't. But then, obviously, 3 years later, or 2 years later, when I'm playing for 3 years, I was playing first grade. Some of those guys didn't make it. Some of those guys you thought were the best players, and those factors came in, which were, girls, friends, going out, enjoying life, as opposed to training hard and wanting to be a first grade footballer.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Perth and the infrastructure and stuff here, mate, obviously we've seen all the news about the 18th team coming up. I mean, I think they're probably doing it a bit too soon if they want it for 2025. I think maybe extra 2 years. It doesn't matter where they're going to go. I think they need to develop it a bit more. Where, in your honest opinion, out of the areas that they've talked about, PNG, second New Zealand team, the Pacifica teams and Perth, where would you like to see the next team?
Well, I definitely would like to see Australia be more like the AFL. I've got it as all of Australia's sport, as opposed to just New South Wales, Queensland, and one Melbourne team. And obviously, but I suppose if you go purely on, a place that is crazy about rugby league, you can't go past Papua New Guinea. But if an Australian and making an Australian a full-on Australian sport in the end, and have again an Adelaide team, Western Australian team, an NT team, like that for me that would be awesome. That's what I was hoping back in the day when we had the Rams and we had the Perth team. But my question I ask is, how is Perth different now than it was back then when we had the Reds?
Yeah, so we've got a lot more infrastructure over here when it comes to grounds and stuff like that. There's a lot more people that are over here that are from over east, from Pacifica, from New Zealand, England. Because the money is over here in the mines and stuff like that. So a lot of them move over here with their families. So the support and stuff is here. Post-COVID, it's been a bit difficult in the sense of we had our, I think it was SG ball team, the West Coast Pirates. They haven't, because of COVID, obviously they had to shut down. And I don't know what the go is with that. I haven't been able to find out.
That's a lot of trouble.
Doing with it.
And wow,
yeah,
but no, there, and you got the grassroots, and obviously you've got to have the grassroots. You've got to have the kids coming through.
Yeah.
Melbourne have done, and you have the locals starting to come through.
Yeah.
Myself, I think I spoke to you earlier before we started here, is that my first Australian schoolboy jersey I got was we played the Australian Schoolboy Championship in Perth. I think at a racetrack, at a dog track, I think it was, or over there in Perth, and it was awesome. We got built it out by my great family, and yeah, I think I was with New South Wales CHS. We actually won the tournament, which was awesome. But
Yeah, nice.
yeah, the Perth guys were there. It was great. They had a decent crowd, but yeah, I love the city. I enjoyed it, but I really hope as long as they can, they've got a decent stadium that's hopefully regular, like we spoke about. Has a capacity of 20, 30,000 people. So and then it's the sponsors.
Yeah.
If you bring the sponsors in, and then those sponsors look after the grassroots, and we start from the bottom, and kids start going to watch it and have their heroes. Well, that's how it starts, isn't it? And what's the population of Perth these days?
That's a good question. I haven't actually checked that up lately.
At least 2.5 million or something. So it's
Yeah.
there to support a team other than AFL, because obviously AFL is number one. But yeah, I can't see why not. And I'd love to see a team in every capital city.
Yeah. Well, it's quite funny. Like everyone goes on about AFL. It's been an AFL dominant state, but I think the WA people just love sport. They love.
Yeah.
They go to the NRL games when they're here. They go to I know so many that are just NRL fans, but they still go to watch AFL games.
Yeah.
It's a bit of everything. They just go to watch sport.
It's an event.
Yeah.
It's high level. It's high level event too. It's you're watching the best of the best.
Yeah. I mean, I went to was it when Darren Lockyer retired his last year? I went to the oval that they would have as main ground now. They played South Sydney there, Brisbane versus South. It was packed. There was 20,000 people there. You were standing shoulder to shoulder with everyone. And then they used to have the Warriors versus Manly over here, but that was at the AFL stadium. They'd still get 20,000 people there.
Yeah.
And then when they brought in, the State of Origin, the last two State of Origins that have been here, 60,000 people.
That's awesome.
And then the 45,000 at the doubleheader that was just over here this year. I was there, obviously wearing my Bronco stuff. I walked around the stadium, go get some food and stuff like that. And there was nearly every other team represented there. It's not because their team wasn't there. They just went there to watch football.
The rugby league fans, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I truly think that, it was disappointing when we lost the Rams and the Reds, but, absolutely, why not? I would, like I said, as long as the infrastructure's there, at the school levels, the young kid level, to bring them on, the sponsor, the ground, like I said, and you said, like 30,000 people in a rectangular field is all you need, like a Leichhardt Oval, something where it's the atmosphere's there. That's what you want. You want that.
Yeah.
When I went to South, we were not in Redfern. We were playing at the new Olympic Stadium, so it was 110,000 people there, and we were getting 2,500 people.
Yeah.
So all you heard was was terrible.
Yeah.
So you need atmosphere.
And that's what you do see these days on the TV as well. Is like you'd see at the Allianz Stadium or wherever it is. I mean, the only ground that doesn't really have that at the moment is Suncorp. But when you watch the Sydney games, you see, it's a 80,000 seat stadium, and there's only 15,000 people there. It's like, how is this happening?
That's obviously the issue with getting a Perth team, and if they end up, getting the wooden spoon, and people just don't start turning up, getting bums on seats, sponsors drop off. That's the issue. Obviously, you want to be, you'll have a start like the Dolphins, but finish better than the Dolphins did, because they certainly came on strong in the first half of this year, and hopefully, hopefully you guys push hard and get it, because it'd be nice to keep it in Australia.
Yep.
But I think, second New Zealand team probably not. I think the Papua New Guinea teams are probably going to be your biggest battle, because they've been asking for a long. They've been knocking on the door, and rugby league is like AFL in Melbourne to them.
Yeah, exactly. And because I discussed this with a lot of people with the PNG team is, I've got a couple of mates who are from PNG, and they've been in Australia for the last 5-10 years, but they said for them, they've said to me, they go, how could you guarantee the safety of the players over there, because they are treated like gods, and they'd be just ambushed anywhere they go.
So we toured there in '27. And I've never seen anything like it. But the airport, I felt like the Beatles coming off the plane, walking the thing, and there was 10,000, 15,000 people, faces up against the fence, just going, woo. Then they chased us across the paddock, chased our bus. We had security on our floor and at the elevators downstairs at our hotel. So they're fanatical. I love it. But it was actually a pretty cool feeling. We're rock stars. It was nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing to it is they were talking about basing it in Cairns, and what is the point in that? If you're going to have a PNG team, you either base them there full time, and play a couple of games in Cairns, or you just go to Perth, where Perth can merge with North Sydney Bears, and we can base ourselves in Perth and play a couple of home games in Sydney.
It'd be called Northwest.
Yeah. Called the Perth Bears or the Northwest Bears or whatever they want to call them.
West to start the ground announcer.
That's it. It's one of those things. There's so many arguments for every franchise that wants to come in.
Absolutely.
It's a matter of, I think, the NRL actually sitting back and going, okay, where do we want to grow the game? Where do we don't have to develop as much and put a few $1 million into, say, Papua New Guinea, whereas we only have to spend $1 million in Perth to get everything going. They've got the sponsors and stuff.
You guys have the infrastructure there, probably a little better than Papua New Guinea. Obviously, both Western Australia and Papua New Guinea have the mining and have a lot of support, sponsor-wise. So and grassroots. I think it's neck and neck, but I'd love to see Western Australia get it again. Like I said, I'd love to see NRL become a full international Australian sport, like every state, and every state be strong, like Melbourne are now. They're rock solid. Yeah. Obviously, New Zealand are rock solid. Even North Queensland are fantastic now. The Dolphins have come on strong. So now it's time to get the other states in and have a fully Australian sport.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I've got one more question for you, mate, before we leave it.
All right, you're scaring me.
That's all right. It's what have you got a message for the people of Western Australia? Fans of yours, fans of I guess the Tigers. More people know you from the Tigers. Have you got a message for all the people over here?
Number one is get behind this NRL bid, get a team, and follow them, and help them help themselves to become a force in the NRL, and bring your kids along, get them in the footy in the NRL, and let's see Perth have a team that stays the length of time.
Yep, absolutely. Mate, that's all I got for you. Timmy Brasher, thank you for joining me on NRL Fans WA. I really do appreciate your time, mate.
Awesome. That was great.
Thank you very much, mate. You have a great day.
You too. Cheers.
Thanks. Bye.